and welcome to this very special podcast. Now, if you are a student looking to do an MBA or a parent who's looking at institutes or having conversations with your child to do an MBA, this is the place you need to be in. I have with me Professor Chaturvedi, former director of BIMTech and the current Director General of ILM University, and the director of the ILM Business School, Nihar Amoncar. Welcome, both of you.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so my very first question. Why should someone in today's world want to do an MBA? 30-second answer.
It provides best of the opportunities in life and in perception, public perception. This is a course everybody should pursue.
Okay, Nihar?
If anybody has or wants to do something to do with business, then the MBA is the ultimate degree that you can have.
Okay, so I don't come from a commerce background, economics background, BBA background, but I have an interest in business. We're in the startup culture in India nowadays. Let's say I come from a history background and I still want to do an MBA. What is it that you're looking for?
Management is a amalgam of many subjects, and it has such a porous kind of curriculum that the social sciences or liberal arts or engineering or quantitative subjects all can take entry. Okay. So if you are coming from any background, it is not necessary that you should have prior knowledge about economics or management. You can take entry and you can pursue the course, and you can also become very successful later after graduating from a business school. So management as a Western model, it has given this openness in countries like India, right, where there were walls that if you do science, you cannot talk to the people who are teaching history or psychology.
I think that one thing that the management programs have done in this country is that they have embraced multidisciplinary nature of education now. As sir was saying, that once upon a time, even management education in this country was quite much in silos. It was dominated by the scientific school of management that emanated from the West. But with time, what management thinkers have started to do is they have started to appreciate the antecedents of management, as sir was saying. So, for example, I teach strategy. The antecedent of strategy is economics, anthropology, sociology. Now, if I really want to understand the nuance of how strategy works, right? Because strategy is conceptualized by a group of people or a person. So having a knowledge of the cultural context of that place, the socio-cultural context of that person really helps, right? So this is something that is coming more into the mainstream management education, that we need to understand psychology and its implications on human resource management. We need to understand sociology, and that helps us understand consumer behavior, which is how a group of consumers behave together better. So crossing disciplines is, I think, making management as a field more interesting, and that, as sir was saying, is more of a factor for people to think that, okay, regardless of what my undergraduate degree is, this is something that will help me find my place in the world.
I think this is so important what both of you have just said, because you've kind of just smashed a sort of huge misconception, which is that only students with economics or commerce or business backgrounds can come. And so it kind of leaves the field open, and a lot of students then can sort of say, I want to do this. But in the world that we are living in today, there is massive unemployment. Globally, the situation's very volatile. The Ukraine war is still going on. In Syria, Assad was just thrown out. There is so much with the Israel-Palestinian conflict. In situations like these, where do you see the world of education, especially management education, going? The volatility that exists, because every time there's a global crisis, the first thing that gets impacted is the economy, and global economies in that sense. So where do you think people with management degrees, where is that going?
I think after the Second World War, a global consensus was built up at the initiative of superpowers. United Nations institutions came into existence, and for 50 years there was a good stability in the global economy, and a lot of progress has been achieved in different parts of the world. And now, of course, we are seeing that the complexity, vulnerability, ambiguity, one concept was spoken with the acronym of VUCA. It is seen every day, and the future of business is not predictable. Future of global politics is not predictable. Everybody was thinking that Trump will not become president, but he became the president. And for 50 years, globalization was the mantra, and the management education was giving too much focus on globalization. A subject international business is taught, and it was thought that the world will grow if globalization process will be expedited. But now situation is going into reverse gear. Now many countries are going towards inward looking, and for example, Trump has given the slogan, "We are for America," and too much nationalism is gaining currency in many countries. Nationalism is not bad, but nationalism can take dark shades. It was said by Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, and it came into the shape of fascism in Germany and Italy and many other countries. So I would like to say that currently situation is becoming very volatile, very unpredictable, and there is lot of complexity because the world used to operate on polarity. There were two countries holding or dominating the world politics, but now it's a multipolar world, and the equations are changing. And COVID has created another problem, isolation of China. Supply chains have been disrupted. So world economy, world politics, and also the ecology of the planet, all are in deep crisis. And productivity has gone down. So in this scenario, more management is required. And this is a misconception that management is required only for business. Any organizational entity which has common objectives, where the people are working, where there are goals and vision, they need management. So all system, be it army, be it government, be it religious organization, be it universities, everywhere MBA or management knowledge is required. And wherever management inputs are not present, those organizations fare very poorly. Like a university in our country, they are not doing well, mostly public universities, because the whole edifice of higher education is not being run by those people who know the professional management. So I would like to conclude by saying that the world has becoming more complex, more unpredictable, but management can still give the compass to the graduates, MBA graduates, to sail during the turbulent waters of complexity.
Such a sort of holistic way of putting it, that it's not just, this very narrow lens of education, but global management, so to speak, needs to be done. Nihar, do you want to add something to that?
I would just like to add that Sir has spelled out the issues facing our world, right? So as the MBA graduates, you're not supposed to just have knowledge, because an MBA program works at a deeper level. In the sense, it's supposed to build your personality. It's supposed to shape your outlook towards the world, right? And only then you can handle these issues. So for example, things like ethics are becoming very important, and we need to go beyond rhetoric. So ethics is not something that we teach. Ethics needs to be something that needs to be experientially taught, how you live by. Because we all studied ethics in school or college, but when it comes to that moment, how do you respond? That shows whether you've really understood it or not. So ethics, responsible management. So when we say responsible management, what is it? Dealing with people through empathy, through inclusiveness. I mean, I spent a lot of time abroad, and people from a certain quarters of the society always used to look at today's generation and say snowflakes, right? So used to say, okay, if that is the term that you're using, can we ask ourselves, why did that happen? Because we parented them, right? So we have an ownership towards them. But these same snowflakes are excellent when it comes to empathy, inclusiveness, right? So they are much more comfortable with diversity. So this is what we need to inculcate in our leaders of today, that tomorrow if you're going to manage an organization, First, you need to manage yourself. You need to be clear in terms of what your thought process is. And this, when complemented with the right kind of knowledge in terms of frameworks and concepts, that's what creates a great management leader.
You know, in terms of management and leadership, in this very volatile world, another sort of spoke in the wheel, so to say, is AI. Everything is AI. It's all about artificial intelligence and, you know, where it's going. And, you know, to quote Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, when is he's going to be back in the world of Transformers. How is that being amalgamated into management education? Where do the synergies lie? If you could both speak a little bit about that.
Should I?
Please.
I think that all over the world, the leading business schools, they are taking it very seriously and positively. Although they are also aware that adopting, embracing AI without ethical compass can go some negative directions also. So in management education, every part of it can be transformed, because there is a need of transformation in business education. It has crossed more than 116 years. The first proper business school, Harvard, came into existence in 1908. So around 116 years journey of management, it evolved gradually, and it has been changing itself and adopting changes in the economy, society, and other part of the global system. But now there is a need that we are looking towards a new era of infinite growth, infinite opportunities, and AI is giving a power in our hands that we can change the fate of this planet. Because the prosperity which came into existence during last 100 years mostly confined to 20 or 30% upper layer of the society in all countries. And there are more than 2-3 billion people suffering with a very poor condition in their life. In Africa, Asia, in our country also, there can be a lot of hype, but it's truth that the basic needs of more than 3 billion people are not being taken into care. So, how we can do this? How can we solve some of the biggest problem of this planet, of this world? One of the biggest problem is ecological disaster, global warming, and everything on which our life is dependent. We need air to survive. We need air. We need water. We need food. We need shelter. Everything has been polluted, and it is creating 1,000 types of sicknesses and 1,000 types of viruses. Treatments are still being searched. So I think the AI can give a power into hands of humanity that they can work upon the problem. Problem solving will become easier. Management or managers, one important role is how strong they are in problem solving. It is not a theoretical study like humanity, liberal arts, because there are no actionable agenda. They can be philosopher, they can be policy makers, but a manager has to be in action. And manager becomes very powerful if he can use AI, machine learning, and data analytics. So decisions now cannot be taken on the basis of observation or on the basis of introspection. Now the complex decisions of the world or a company or a small community in a town can be taken only by reading into the big data which is coming from every system, and that will be possible by AI, by machine learning. And by developing artificial intelligence, human being will be able to develop very fastly in any field they want to develop. So there are many positive aspects of AI because of which these schools have taken its existence very positively, but at the same time they will have to work very seriously to strengthen the ethical compass given to the management graduates. And it happened in past that it has been used by critics of B schools that MBAs are becoming criminals. When some of the very shining stars of Harvard, Yale's, and they have gone to the jail. One of the professor of a very big B school, Christensen, he was giving his students called him to deliver some lecture before he passed away. So he has said that if you are not having this ethical compass, if your moral code is not strong, and he was very spiritual person, so he said that many of the MBA graduates who became very powerful in corporate world, they have done criminal things and they went to jail. So doing an MBA degree is not guarantee that one person will use management knowledge for good purposes. You can do it for criminal purposes also. So I would like to say AI for Indian B schools is very important, and IILM universities at Gurugram and Greater Noida and IIM Lodhi, they are very seriously imbibing AI in their curriculum, and they are training their faculty so that they can train the students later.
So, sir, you just spoke about AI. I wanted to also ask you that you spoke about transformation in business education, in Masters in Business Administration. If you could tell me something about the skills you feel today's business leaders should have, that they possibly didn't have earlier or they weren't required earlier.
I think the episodes of last few decades has created a big challenge to the B schools, that the skills provided to their graduates were not enough to deal with the complexity of business and society. And moreover, the management education for last 100 years not thought about relationship of business with society and business and the ecology of the world. Now the global problems are mostly related to sustainability or ethics. So these are the two big challenges, and management education has not dealt with them. So now the agenda has changed, and international bodies like AACSB or EFMD or AMBA, they are talking in their global conferences that business education has to deal with that. Management education cannot simply be tool in the hands of profit-mongering capitalist. Capitalist economy is not doing justice even in America, which is a prime donna for capitalism. And millions of people have given their support to Trump because he was speaking for the white, less educated people who are feeling bad that the economic growth is not giving them. Whereas the four or five tech companies, they have money power similar to the wealth of so many big countries. So this is a global inequality which has been created by the global economy, and management graduates have been part of it in contributing that. So I think that the artificial intelligence is a big thing which is going to happen, and management education has to now find out solutions to the problem related to sustainability. 200 governments, politicians signed some statement in 2015 that set 17 sustainable goals and 169 targets will be achieved. Nobody is talking about to what extent those goals and targets have been achieved. And 2030 is hardly 6 years away. So I think the management education around the world, they are looking into the great possibility in sustainability. Like a company in Sweden is doing a business of how to deal with lithium battery after its use, so that it does not pollute. And their valuation is within 10 years. Just a 10 years old company, I am forgetting the name. Swedish names are difficult to remember. So it is $3 trillion.
$3 trillion.
So now this is possible. That sustainability is a big challenge, big problem. Global warming and pollution, all these things. But every human problem is a big business opportunity. AI can convert it.
Yeah. I was just going to say, so for all of you out there who think that, doing good is not profitable, it can be if you do it right and you do it well. But Nihar, to you, I wanted to ask you, if there were 3 skills you wanted your MBA students to graduate with, what would they be?
I think the first one would be to take decisions. So MBA graduate needs to take decisions. The right decisions we can't say, because nowadays, with the complexity that Dr. Chaturvedi was talking about, whether you're right or wrong is proven in a matter of time, particularly in business strategy if we talk about it. But you need to take the decision. So the timeliness of the decision making is very important. Also, what that means is, how are you taking that decision? That means today, sir was talking about big data. So today, the kind of tools that we as managers have at our disposal are multifold. They're growing. So at one point of time, we used to use Excel sheets. Today, you have visual analytics dashboards. You've got AI, which is going to give you all the interpretation of the data that you feed in. But then it is about you taking that decision, because your decision has an implication to impact society. It impacts your employees, it impacts your product sales, profit, everything, right? So to take such bold decisions, you need to first of all be conceptually clear, and second, be aware of how data-driven decision making works, right? So that's one. So AI is never going to take a decision for you. I mean, God forbid. But you need to be able to use it as a tool to aid your decision. Second is resilience. Resilience, when I say, is the ability to go through difficulty, right? And whatever complexities that Dr. Chaturvedi highlighted, what is required to take a person through or take an organization through is resilience. I mean, this might not be a popular example, but as an academic, I think I can give one. Look at Adani, right? He's going through a series of issues. There was the Hindenburg, he came out of that, his share price bounced back, and now you have this other, fiasco that he's facing. Now you think about being a middle level or a senior level manager in Adani. What you need is resilience. All your knowledge might just go out of the window. And tomorrow you can decide, what, hands out, I'm quitting. But to go through that situation, to come out on the other side, right? That is what the managers, the second skill. And the third skill I would suggest is empathy. Look, empathy does not say that you're weak. I mean, in a society like India, which if you look at it from a Hofstede scale, the high power distance, right? It is very easy for strong-natured individuals to say that, okay, I am taking this decision and this is the right way, and people will be like, oh yeah, let's follow this because he clearly seems to know what to do. But that's not the case. Research is proving that today, if you really want to motivate the workforce, if they want if you want them to work for you in the long term, then you need to create a sort of belongingness. And people work their best when they are happy, when their needs are understood. I'm not saying you go to the other end of the spectrum and make things very laissez-faire. I'm saying that you need to have rules defined, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, but not at the cost of humanism. I mean, organization should not bend leaders to turn into non-human entities. Right?
But one skill which he has spoken already, but is getting prime importance, that is problem solving.
Right.
So you may be very good in theory, knowing the theory, but if you cannot solve a problem on the table, put up on the table, then people will have doubt about your quality of your degree. And I would like also add, along with the resilience, adaptability is being talked a lot. That how can you adapt to any new situation? You are transferred to another continent, your company is facing crisis, you have changed the job, you are having problem with your life partner, you are divorced. Any situation, how do you adapt yourself? So adaptability, resilience, problem solving, these are the basic skills required for every management graduate. And management education is not only MBA, it is also the doctoral program which produces scientists, management scientists and teachers, faculty for management, and also undergraduate BBA program. So these are the three programs which are very popular around the world. Around 20,000 B schools are there in the world, and out of those 20,000, more than 3,000 are in India. So India has a big stake, and Indian management graduates are doing good in the corporate world around the globe. They are CEO at many companies, and in India also, people say that those who have not done MBA, they have also done good. but the fact is, those who have done some research on this aspect, that the knowledge of management by pursuing some study gives you upper edge than those who do not having that edge. So management gives you something which is not gives you other non-management degrees.
No, and quite frankly, I think the skills that both of you spoke about are really skills for life for anyone, possibly not just for management graduates. So if you want skills for life, then this is the program for you.
Moreover, the world business is global.
Yeah.
All more than 30 years back, hardly few Indian conglomerates were globalized. But during last 40 years of liberalization and other reforms made in India, hundreds of conglomerate companies have become globalized, and their employees are working with hundreds of nationalities in their offices. So if you do not adjust with them, this is cross-cultural sensitivity is also part of skills suggested by management education.
Absolutely. But it was very interesting that you spoke about problem solving, and that somebody could be extremely good in theory, but if you're not actually sort of solving the problem on the ground, then what's the use? So how much of this education should be experiential, should be, based on ground projects? What is that balance like?
I think management is different in one sense, that it is task-oriented, goal-oriented, and it gives hands-on training. So there are three parts of management education: knowing, doing, being. And in one of the famous book authored by Professor Datar, Srikant Datar, who has been the Dean of Harvard Business School, he has talked about the top 20 B schools, Ivy League B schools. They have done some research about the 100 years of management education, and they reached to the conclusion that management education has to move in a direction that so far you have talked about knowing and doing. But you have to go ahead towards being. So knowing means getting the knowledge, receiving the knowledge, which is provided by your business school or your university. Doing means doing some practice, doing experiential learning, doing some projects. And being means how do you manage yourself? How do you reach to the new heights in your life? And how you balance your work and your family life? And being means you have to become more and more mature leader, more and more humble, or humility should be in a leader. So leadership is a big subject in management, and leaders should be compassionate, they should be empathetic, they should be very fast to adapt to a new situation, and they should not like a leader who is blaming his or her followers. Whenever there is a failure, for blaming others, and whenever there is a great success, taking credit for it. So a very good blueprint of leadership has been provided by management education, that leaders should be highly ethical, they should not be selfish, and they should be last to take any benefit out of their position. They should think about others, and their goal or horizon should be global and very big, and they should imbibe all the skills which are needed for the management graduates. So leadership is a pinnacle of the management professional, and leaders should have all the qualities which have philosophers in Greece or India or other countries. They have suggested that how the leaders should be. But in politics, those leaders are rarely found, but in corporate world also this problem is increasing year by year. So now all these schools are talking about that ethics and integrity and human values should be ingrained in the management education. It should not be only a course to be taught for 30 hours and then leave to the management pursuants.
I think that's not just for politicians or business leaders, sir. I think in every field we need those qualities. But Nihar, if I can sort of ask you, as you teach management education, how much of other programs do you bring in? Whether it's sociology, I mean, nowadays HR professionals with psychology backgrounds are really in demand. So how much input is there from other programs?
There's a lot and it's growing. So for example, we are talking about AI or we are talking about analytics as a subject. A lot of analytics has its roots in statistics. So if you understand statistics, then you understand natural language programming, and that sort of is the input that goes into analytics, right? So if you are really going to become a data scientist, then your base of statistics should be very, very strong. So that's one. The other is, as you said, psychology and human resource management, but also psychology and advertising, right? So today, advertising is getting more and more creative. I mean, we can look at how 5-star has flipped the equation with AI completely on it, and John Lewis in the UK, the way they used to do it, the Christmas ads. So I think psychology and understanding the mood of the nation and the general public, it really gives you that edge and creativity to think differently, right? Third is, like, for example, even philosophy. Like I did not study philosophy, as an undergraduate degree. But I know people who have done English literature, and what it did for them is that it enabled critical thinking ability. So they could look at, let's say, Marcus Aurelius, and they could think about his meditations from different perspectives. So that now suddenly comes handy when you think of problem solving, right? That is one of the methods of problem solving. Design thinking never came from management. Design thinking came from the design school, right? I mean, Stanford bought it. So everywhere there are crossovers. So it is about finding the right balance. So we are not saying to our kids that, okay, you need to go and specialize in that subject. No, you need to identify what are the commonalities, what are the implications, and then create stuff. So one of the higher order learning skills is to create, right? You evaluate and you create. So what do you mean by that? So if I evaluate the impact of psychology on advertising, and if that helps me create a good branding program, then suddenly I am using multidisciplinary education to my benefit. So that is what I think the MBAs of today will be expected to do, because you don't want run-of-the-mill advertisements. The run-of-the-mill HR policies don't work. So that requires us to change and, as Sir said, adapt and react to it.
So what are the challenges do you see in the future?
Challenges is to then train the faculty.
Challenges
to management education.
Yes.
Yeah. I think to train the faculty, I mean, Sir, with his decades of experience, will be able to tell this. But if I'm supposed to talk about it from a young leader's perspective, is that we as faculty need to change quite quickly. I mean, we need to step down from our pedestal of saying that, okay, I know this subject and now I profess. No. It's a co-learning environment now. With the amount of information that students have at their hand and aided by AI, right? So they are coming up with responses to the typical questions that you would ask. So you are going to having to shift from a teaching orientation to a learning orientation. That means you now need to understand the learning styles, what motivates your student, and how do they learn. So this is something that is very important, that we cannot be just known as SMEs or subject matter experts like how we like to be calling ourselves. And we need to find novel ways of pedagogy to be used in the classroom. I think that's one. And that's why we need to retrain ourselves. Sir made a point about fellowship programs in management and PhD programs becoming important. I learned how to teach by following my director of studies, who was my PhD director, right? I used to sit in his classes day after day, observing him, body language, how does he pace up and down, how does he pause. So the art of teaching needs to be brought back. I mean, Sir is a legendary character in this field, and I think we as young people need to look up to them and say that, I think some of these things need to come back.
So what does the legend say?
No, I would like to say that I am not a legend. I do not claim, and I risen from the ranks, and I was basically not trained in management. I was a student of commerce. Then I shifted to business administration. Then I became one of the officer with the All India Council for Technical Education. So I became involved in policy making for management education. And during that period, 4 or 5 years when I was working, I developed my interest in management education. I would like to say that faculty development is biggest challenge for Indian B schools, because management cannot be taught in the same fashion which is taught in a classical subjects or in a university, geography, social science, liberal arts, humanity, science. Of course, science is being taught, much of the science taught in laboratory. And also for teaching law, you have to go to the court. And so medical profession, the nearest discipline to management is medical science. And medical science is the Indian management education following one of the important norm is that before completing the MBBS degree, one has to treat 2,500 patients. 2,500 patients, it should be a record. Similarly, management, unless the students, because majority of the MBA pursuants are directly coming from the university and colleges. They have no exposure to business, to society, or to industry. They do not know how industry operates. So they can not be taught unless they are given exposure to the industry. So they are sent for summer internship. But it is also namesake, summer internship, because industry is not interested. And B schools are also just sending them and then saying that summer internship is their duty. And nobody is guiding them, observing them, helping them. This is a truth that most of the places that they are left on themselves. So there is a need for overhauling our management system. We should set up regional colleges of faculty development in management. At least 10 places in India, there are 10 clusters where management education has flourished, and we need thousands of management teachers. And we cannot prepare them unless they are given some bridge course after completing their MBA or their MA psychology or their MA economics, because management education does not believe that only those who will have MBA degree or PhD degree in management, they will be the management teacher. Any history professor can become management faculty. Economics, many economics professors are part of management education. Anthropology, psychology, sociology, liberal arts, history. So anybody can become a management faculty, but they should be trained in all kinds of pedagogy of management education. And now AI has come up, machine learning has come up. So you cannot teach by lecture method, you cannot teach simply by case method. Case method is very important, and it has almost replaced the lecture method in management education. But now even case method, simulations, they all require infusion of AI. And teachers to be trained. We may be having around 50,000 teachers, management, but all kinds of, there are 3,000, beyond 500, there is no seriousness. They are simply crunching up MBA degree. So top 500 business schools which are existing for some time and they are providing good quality management education, they need to have teachers trained at least for 1 year or 6 months in the pedagogy of management, evolution of management education, and how they can become not only a good faculty or teacher, they should become a good mentor. They should become a good researcher. They should become a good problem solving, and they should also have exposure to the industry. In US or European countries, the universities are, B schools are sending their faculty for secondment in industry, and industry people are coming to the business school. And one major problem is that in US, there are universities like Harvard and MIT where there is medical science, engineering and management and so many disciplines. There is cross-pollination of management education with other disciplines.
Right.
So in India, there are watertight compartments, there are walls in our universities. And engineering, some university, BITS Pilani may be very good in engineering. They have management also, nobody knows. Because there is no infusion or cross-pollination of the practices and models and the learnings of engineering and management. So these are required to run our business education in a future trajectory. If you do not have good teachers, then that it will be simply a degree printed on paper.
Like it is at many places. Okay, my last question. We have a new education policy. What impact do you think it's going to have on management education?
NEP has not given any specific direction about management education. They have spoken about engineering education, medical education, agriculture education, and I have raised this point in 2020 in a conference that it is in a 200-page document. There is no mention of management education, which is most popular, prominent education of our country, along with engineering and medical science. So, but one thing is sure that they have outlined that how the institutions will be categorized. They have categorized that there will be research universities which will do teaching also. Then there will be second category, teaching universities will do research also, and there will be autonomous colleges. So now there are universities teaching management programs. There will be research universities. They will also be teaching management programs. And I can give example that IITs are doing and teaching also, doing research also, teaching also.
Right.
And unless the research aspect of business education in our country is not strengthened, we are lagging behind. And only on the name of research, the Western research journals, they are getting prosperity. Their total turnover is US $35 billion, and they are charging and they are making money. And simply publishing research papers in those journals will not strengthen India's business, India's society. And we need many problems prevailing at grassroots level in rural area, hinterland and poor centers and slums. Those problems can be solved by management students, by management teachers. And there are many examples. Like Harvard students came in India 30 years back, and there was a problem that when the children are born in the 7th or 8th month, they were having some medical problems. They were put into some incubator, and that was very costly, costing lakhs of rupees. And Harvard students came and they have provided a solution which was costing only 10,000-20,000. So management education can help India to reach to the developed economy status by 2047, which is called Viksit Bharat, lot of publicity. It is not possible unless higher education is strengthened, unless management education is transformed, because ultimately you have to increase the efficiency and ethical pivot of your society, your economy, your industry, your governance. So we need better governance, we need better management, we need better efficiency everywhere. That will be possible only when higher education, school education, they are improved, and management education should provide holistically trained management graduates. Those who can solve problems rather than just having a degree and think about always about themselves. Management education is not giving this value. The fathers of management education never. Professor Mathai, who was the first director of IIM Ahmedabad, he was such a legend, selected by then Prime Minister to head the IIM Ahmedabad. Vikram Sarabhai was the person who was given this idea to set up IIMs. Professor Mathai, after retirement, he devoted his life to transform a village in Rajasthan. And he was having a lot of interest in village development. And there is a center in IIM Ahmedabad Center for Agriculture, where the management inputs are given to the farming community and research and teaching is done. And there is a Professor Anil Gupta who has done lot of work on grassroots innovation. And he was conducting a Shodh Yatra. He was a professor. So we should have professors like Anil Gupta who used to go to tribal areas, rural areas, remote areas in India with management students. देखो ये problem है, इसको solve करो.
I think, sir, I mean, that's a perfect end to this podcast, because I think as a people, as a country, we need to, all of us need to think beyond ourselves and think of others. But thank you so much. Thank you, Nihar. Thank you, Professor Chaturvedi. Thank you for watching us. And we'll be back again with an interesting subject. It wouldn't just be MBA, it wouldn't just be education, there'll be a lot more. Thank you for watching.